amazing. Well, good. I think.
Yeah, I think we're ready to begin.
Yeah, great. So, good evening, everybody, and apologies for the pronunciation. Kalispera. We're really delighted to join Bart Lyrarakis, the second generation of the Lyrarakis family winery, this evening, along with Myriam Ambuzer, the enologist winemaker at Lyrarakis.
So Bart's going to tell us a little bit about the story of Lyrarakis, their focus on sustainability and the indigenous grape varieties that the Lyrarakis family have championed and saved from extinction. Myriam will then lead the tasting of 4 of their stunning wines.
And if you have any questions at all during this, I mean, it's brilliant to see that everyone's using the chat function already, but any questions at any time, feel free, and we'll pose them to Bart and Myriam, so just ask them using the chat function. And yeah, so over to you, Bart, and Yamas.
Oh, I should pour some wine for myself.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah, well, my name is Lyrarakis. As you heard, I am a second generation of the family winery Lyrarakis. I'll probably share my a brief presentation I have here for you so that you can see. Maybe Emma can confirm that you can see this in full screen.
Yep, we can see the full screen now.
So we are a family winery established on the island of Crete in 1966. You see a couple of people here. The older people are my father and my uncle. So it's 2 brothers and their children. Our parents are not active in the company anymore. We run the business now. And the focus has always been native grape varieties and of course only making wine on the island of Crete. But let me first describe a little bit very shortly, because we frequently get some comments about the logo. The first letter of our logo is the Greek letter, which is the only Greek thing our logo has. All the other letters are Latin. And I just wanted to show you that we decided to leave it there so that we have a Greek, if you want, accent in our logo. And it mainly shows what we essentially do, which is we focus a lot on trying to really create and open new paths for the winemaking of Crete. And that is how we also, why we also focus on the native grape varieties and investigating also new and interesting ways to showcase them and make wines that are very distinctive. I'll save you the points in time thing, which shows a little bit what we did and when we did it. But what I want to first show you here is discuss Crete a little bit. So the company was established about almost 50 something years ago. And we are in the center of the island. I don't know how many of you have visited Crete. Hopefully a lot of you did. We are in the center of the island. So I don't know if my, Emma, is my mouse visible now, my mouse pointer?
Yeah, we can see the mouse. It's pointing,
it's pointing on the map. There is a red area that is a part of the city of Heraklion, and under that there is a black dot. That is where our winery is located. What we show with this map is a little bit the landscape of Crete. You see we have a couple of mountain ranges, and we showcase them for a reason. We generally, first of all, an interesting thing about the mountain ranges of Crete, although Eva exaggerated a little bit in her graphic in the bottom left corner. You see Mount Lyrarakis is the highest mountain of Crete. It's almost 2.5 kilometers high. And we found online that Ben Nevis is the highest altitude that you have, which is almost half of it. And okay, the graphic is a little bit cheating in our favor, but I hope you won't mind. It's just to show you how big the mountains are. So, and you see we have a couple of them. There is 3 in the, if you want, western and central part of Crete. And there is also arrows in the top left which show you where the wind generally comes from. Now, you'll probably be thinking, why am I saying all this? Because we are generally an area that is not as warm as people generally think, but probably a warm area. So what is very beneficial for winemaking and has been for centuries is the northwestern winds that we have, which are 95% of the time prevalent. So why are these important? Because they cool everything down. So we have, you see also 3 dots on the map of Crete, which is the main areas where we are active, where we source grapes from. So we don't source grapes only from our own area. We source them also from other areas. And all these areas are next to mountains, if you want. So they are at higher places, generally, almost all of them, or in a very well cooled position, if you want. So that was a little bit short about Crete. And then here is a little bit some facts. The lowest altitude where we are is 230 meters for vineyards, I mean. And the highest vineyards that we currently use to make our rosé are 900 meters above sea level. Crete is the second biggest wine area in Greece, after the Peloponnese, where Myriam is now located. And it's generally very steep slopes. All of the harvest is done manually, or almost all. The mechanization is very limited. And most of the vineyards are non-irrigated, and many times, even if they are irrigated, people don't need to do it. And that is the case also in our own vineyards. The harvest is generally between August 15th and September 25th. Now, before I enter the real details about our wines and the grape varieties, I want to show you a little bit our focus on sustainability. This is a list you have probably seen before. The icons are something that is a UN, how should I say, a UN procedure, if you want. They invented this, or they are trying to promote this. There is a couple of goals of the UN that we also focus on, and they all are aiming for sustainability. I will explain now briefly what we do. In all the areas that we work with farmers, with contracted farmers. So we own our own private land. We have almost 10 hectares under our, a little bit more than 10 hectares under our own, which we own and that we control. But we have contracted farmers for a lot of the wines that we make in all of the areas where we grow, where we make wines. So what we're trying to do, and this is our sustainability initiative, if you want, is to make them better farmers, make them better for the future of this planet, if you want. So there is a couple of course, this is a very detailed project, and there is a very strict evaluation of all the farmers on what they do. But this is a short summary of some of the very important things, and you have probably seen them before. I will not discuss them in detail, but the essence is that we, I think by working with many of the farmers, which is essential on Crete, and if we get the opportunity to go deeper, I will explain why this is essential, and it generally has to do with the small amount of land every farmer owns. So it is important that we support many farmers and that we try to make them better. Now, allow me to show the main lines of wines, and here I think I can start explaining what we really do. Emma, please feel free to, or Charlie, feel free to stop me if I'm not in time. And
Bart, this is brilliant. It's amazing.
Fantastic.
It's wonderful. Thank you.
The winery has, we have decided to split the wines that we make in 3 ranges. Today, we will be discussing only the single area ones. We make 2 other ranges of wines. The single area wines that we are discussing today focus on showcasing a grape variety, but trying to do this in the best available area or terroir, if you want, on Crete. So we started in the 90s, in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, with really championing grape varieties that were almost extinct or only native to Crete. And we have ended up with a portfolio that you see now, which includes a couple of, every wine, every bottle that you see on the left is a different grape variety in a different area. I will start with Plyto so that I give you a better understanding of what I mean. Plyto is the first grape variety, and I hope that maybe I can go on with in the tasting part. Emma, is that okay with you, or should I make a pause here?
Oh no, this is however you think, Bart. This is
Good.
brilliant. But maybe if you just explain the order in which the wines are being showed, as you mentioned, just so that people can line up their wines in front of them as well.
We will be trying 4 wines today. You probably got them. It's Plyto. Then we have Dafni. Then we have Villana, Pyrovolikes. And we have a red wine in the end. Okay, so let's start with Plyto. I will briefly explain a little bit about the history of Plyto, but I think I will let Myriam maybe taste with you. I'm sure that we can have some feedback through Emma from all of you. Plyto is a grape variety that was almost extinct, and it was revived in the early 90s. I want to explain that Crete didn't have, more areas, not just Crete, didn't have vineyards that were made of one grape variety. It was a very widespread and common thing that you would have maybe decades of a multitude of grape varieties in a vineyard. So in the 90s, after having tried some French grape varieties, as everybody did back then, which was a trend, our parents decided that it was a smart idea and strategically long-term interesting to invest into local grape varieties that were almost extinct. Plyto was the first one that they remembered because they remembered it from their childhood. So they remembered eating the grape as children, and they went into the vineyard that still existed back then and took cuts of the grape variety and planted 1.5 hectares. Or we ended up with 1.5 hectares now. Interestingly enough, however small this seems, this is the biggest vineyard of this grape variety in the world. So that means we also have not that many bottles every year. In general, we would have approximately around 15,000 bottles every year over the last years. Interesting facts about Plyto, and again, I will let Myriam discuss a little bit the character of the wine. Is the grape variety has culturally so a very interesting asset. It is a very drought resistant grape. So it is interesting for areas that don't have that much water. So you will, if you ever get the opportunity to visit us in our vineyards, you will see we do have water pipes installed, so we can we can irrigate if we want, but we never need to, because this grape is really very resistant to drought, and we have seen that especially in the last years. Myriam, maybe you want to do an introduction to the character of the wine and maybe discuss a little bit the winemaking. And I'm sorry, I have to introduce her first officially, because I don't know if it was done. It was done by Emma, but Myriam is our head enologist, and she has been with us since 2003. So she has been with us a couple of years. You cannot see it on her face, I think, but she has been with us many years.
Thank you, Bart. The truth is that the first variety I've seen in Crete of the local varieties was Plyto. And vineyard. I didn't know the variety at first, but as you can all see the grape, and Bart said before, it's loose, and we can see that the skin is rather thin. This is very important for the winemaking because we didn't know how to make a wine from Plyto at first, the first years. Now we realize that it was very easy to have the aromas of Plyto, and it's a very juicy grape, and that's important. So it's easy, theoretically, to make wine. What we do differently about Plyto is that we have for at least 2 different harvests. Why we do that? Because we need the complexity, and we need more aromatic intensity and a balanced acidity. So if you have an early vintage, you will have high acidity and different aromas. So the first vintage, we make it at the end of August, and we have some kiwi aromas. This is about 1/3 of the total blend in Plyto in this year winemaking 2019 that we are tasting. And the 2 parts of the blend, we are seeking for more mellowed aromas in the pulp. So let's taste it and see that complexity. It's really very aromatic, an aromatic wine. It keeps its freshness. And we can find that fruit in the mouth as well. It's full flavored. We can find also some citrus and melon. What for me is very, very important is that wine is, and that I don't see it in a lot of wines. We say I don't see here in Greece. We can taste that. It has great length and great width. That's due to the tannins. Tannins gives us the length of the wine and enhance the flavors. I would say it's because of the tannins, it's a gastronomic wine. It goes along with all seafoods and white meats, cheese, and cream sausages. The other thing, we take a lot of patience with that wine and winemaking because we don't. We go on natural fining, so we use only yeast derivatives in making that wine.
And Myriam, you've got a couple comments here. So Marco at the Berkeley mentions that it's very peachy and salty in style. And also you've got a question here from Bayer at Chiltern Firehouse, who's asking whether all these varieties are engrafted.
I didn't understand you.
Oh, sorry, whether they're ungrafted.
I can reply about the
ungrafted
part. Yes, if they are ungrafted or grafted. They are grafted on American rootstock. The wine that you are drinking here is grafted on American rootstock because this area of Crete, and I will show you later on the map, has had phylloxera. All of Crete has had phylloxera with the exception of very few vineyards. And we will be trying some wine, a wine later that is from a pre-phylloxera vineyard. But Myriam, you
are right about the saltiness. I'm sorry, it's a common, it's a Mediterranean wine, and you will find saltiness. Yeah. It's a characteristic of Mediterranean wine.
And Stephen from Galvin-la-Chapelle has said, you mentioned tannins. Is there some deliberate skin contact?
No, there is no skin contact really in that vintage, and in earlier vintage we have only skin contact for 3 hours. The tannins are very easily extracted.
Right.
That's the reason we do a classic white fermentation. And if I could, I would rapidly just have the free run juice very quickly, because I would like it a little bit lighter with tannins.
You can combine what Myriam says about the thickness of the skin also with the fact that this is really the reason that the grape variety was almost extinct. I will show you later a short video where you can see, but the Plyto needs a lot of viticultural attention. A lot of work needs to be done so that it doesn't have any diseases, any problems. I'll show you later in a very short video.
Brilliant. And it's absolutely stunning. This is so beautiful. I love Plyto. Have to admit, before knowing you, I'd never tried it, and it's spectacular, this wine. And you've got just a couple other questions here related to this. There's one from Stefan at Pollen Street, who's just asking about the fact that there's no vintage on the bottle. I'm trying to see if I can see it. I'm blind as a bat, so I can't see.
Yeah, we've got them all behind us.
And the further back. So we'll just double check that afterwards. And just if there was a reason for that. Pardon?
There should be. We do use a special method to print the label. So we order all the labels without the variable indications, and vintage is a variable indication. So it might be that something slipped off the printer, but I don't think so.
Yeah. Hopefully it should be on there.
Yeah, it's on ours.
But maybe something slipped from the printer, so I don't know. I can't promise.
Yeah, and the alcohol.
Yeah, it's just on the side of that.
Good legal requirements.
Yeah, they are legal. We promise they're all legal.
And about the saltiness that you discussed, there is even there is a professor. I can't recall the name. I can find the information though for the person that asked it, who is really investigating the relationship between saltiness and where the wines are grown or how they are grown. There have been a couple of conferences worldwide about it.
Stefan just clarifies that I just want to apologize to Stefan because he says he definitely doesn't have it on his bottle. So I'm very sorry that it's probably me. I'm a bad account manager. I must have left it off your bottle. So I apologize for that. I think there's just one other question then to go on to the next wine. There's one there.
Victoria's asked if the Plyto is fermented in tank and then matured in barrel.
No, it's fermented 100% in tank, and we have some lease contact for about 2 months.
Okay, thank you.
Brilliant. I think we're ready to move on to the next one, maybe.
Okay, so now we will talk about Dafni. Dafni is a grape variety that was also under extinction. Luckily, again, it was planted in the same area, if you want, next to each other as Plyto. Dafni is also the only grape variety that we have historical proof that it is an ancient grape variety. It has a very interesting name. It's a pity it's written on your screen. Otherwise, I would really love to hear what you smell and what you taste. But now I have to say so because it's on your screen. Dafni in Greek means bay leaf or laurel. This has to do with the fact that when you eat the grape, when you taste it, the grape itself, it has a very thick skin. So it is the complete opposite, if you want, of Plyto in this aspect. But it has a very, very herbal character. And this herbal character you find back in the wine. So we believe, because there is no, although it is mentioned in a Minoan copper vessel, there is no explanation why it is called like this, but we believe that the first person that really baptized the grape variety, if you want, thought it tasted more like bay leaf. And hence, because bay leaf in Greek is Daphne, he called it Dafni, the bay leaf grape. It is a grape that can also age very well, even though we have mainly or only been making it in stainless steel tank. We only tried it once or twice to ferment it in, or to age it in oak. So it's always a stainless steel vinification, but it still will keep for a very long time, and it always has moderate alcohol, not high. I would generally say 12 and a half, depending on the vintage. And I will let Myriam discuss the acidity and the other things that she can discuss about the aging potential of the grape.
Well, we were very surprised about the aging potential, as you mentioned, Bart, because we have tasted a lot of Dafni wines of 10-year-olds or 15-year-olds, and they were surprisingly having that bay leaf, also having some rosemary, and that saltiness of the Mediterranean wines. What's for me, it's very special about Dafni, it's the grape by its own. If you see the grape, you won't eat it. It has a very thick skin. It's not so juicy as Plyto, we described earlier, and it's very difficult to have the aromas extracted. So in this wine, we have a skin contact. Sometimes, in some vintages, we have a kind of red vinification of that grape. The latest vintages in 2019, we have 5% macerated and fermented of the juice with the skins, like a red wine, and the rest of the wine, it's fermented with a skin contact of about 12 hours. So the skin contacts allows the aromas of the skin to go on to the juice, That's the reason we do it. We didn't want the oak to change the aromas, so we keep it on tank, and we have the maturation on lees for about 4 months or more, sometimes more, because it needs time to see all the aromatic profile of Dafni. I remember the first years we have to taste La Dafni in May or June. Now the latest years we tasted in Easter. It's very distinctive, the aromas. I think there's nobody that can forget that herbaceous character. But in the mouth, it's very fresh due to the alcohol. It's elegant, and it has a very intense aromatic aftertaste. I think it's the best wine to have it with difficult plates. Plates with very aromatic herbs. Plates like we do here in Crete with snails and rosemary. Pies. I think it goes along with a lot of difficult plates.
Myriam, you're getting a lot of comments on this wine, a lot of kind of tasting profiles coming up here. So Charlotte mentions that she's getting rosemary more than bay leaf. You've got Bayer. I think this is brilliant too. Peppermint and eucalyptus from Bayer, which is fantastic on it. And then just looking down.
Could Bart or Myriam give us an indication of what the last harvest was like for Crete, for Dafni in particular?
Well, Dafni was one of the best harvests because it was not so late harvested. What means we harvest the grape about 20 of September, if I remember well. And usually we harvest the grape in the last days of September, even October. So it was a full mature grape. That means the skin of the berry was not so thick, was disintegrated in a way. So it was more easy to extract the aromas. We have a lot of, in 2019 as a year, a lot of rain. So they mature normally, the grapes, and a lot of aromatic high intensity profile. If we have not a lot of rain, years that we don't have a lot of rain, it was before 2017, it's more difficult to extract the aromas of Daphnes because it doesn't produce the aromas, the grape by itself.
Right.
So I would say it was an easy and a good vintage.
Well, we look forward to drinking that vintage too, but this
gorgeous.
is stunning and this is spectacular as well.
Yeah.
And Donald La Trompette also has a question just in terms of, oh, just lost it.
Says, what's the written evidence from the Minoan era? I guess this.
Oh, I have a picture of that, but I am not ready to share it here now. There is a copper vessel was found a couple of kilometers from where we really have planted Daphne, which states in a oh goodness, I always say this the wrong way. It was linear B, I think. So it's it's anyway the language that we can decrypt if you want and read what they said or what they wrote, and it says wine made of Daphne, and you spell that in Greek Daphnitis Innos. So this is engraved on a copper vessel from the Bronze Age, and it is available in Chania in a museum. So people would be able to visit it, or I can just send you, of course, the JPEG I have, which shows the
do, and I'll pass it along.
exact engraving. Yeah, I can actually, but I need to stop the presentation, I think, so I don't want to do that.
No, send it to us and we'll share it with everyone afterwards.
Yeah, and we have another question from Honey Spencer. Has the winemaking changed in recent years? Has there been a change in the yeast use, or do you rely on native yeast for ferments?
There is every year there is changes in that wine because it depends on the grape. About the yeasts, we use neutral yeasts. We inoculate with neutral yeasts that are usually killer and Bayanus, because we have late harvested of the cold and have a slow fermentation rate. The yeast doesn't give an aromatic profile. That's we call neutral for that reason. What we've changed the latest years is the skin content. The first years we have almost 20% macerated as a red wine. This year, we have 5%. This depends on the aromatic intensity of the grape. If we need more aromas, we do skin contact.
Okay, we probably have to, maybe another time though, we probably have to explain how we decide the maturity of the grapes, Myriam, but let's see if we have time at the end.
Okay, sure. Yes. We will talk about very sensory assessment that we make in the winery. It's all our work. Only that.
and it's absolutely beautiful. It's amazing to compare it to Plyto as well, next to each other. Just such different, unique expressions. They're stunning.
Yeah, it's so herbal. It's quite amazing.
And you've got lots more questions on Daphne, but I was wondering, do you want to try the next wine, and then we could ask you some more of the Daphne questions at the end?
Sure. Can I briefly show it's 50 seconds, the video so you can see the grapes?
Amazing.
Yeah, sure.
Let me see if I do this right now. You need to open this. Now I probably have to do. I'm getting better at it, I think. There. Can you see this?
Brilliant, we can see it.
I stopped the video now to show you. This is, I thought you would be hearing the sound, so I will say what I'm saying in the video. This is the Plyto grape. I will let it move now, but what I'm showing with my hand is that we have removed some of the leaves right above and under, if you want, the grape. That allows for much better aeration and many, or much less problems, if you want. And then, so I'm showing here that the leaves are missing. Walk now. Dafni is next to it, so it's like 3 meters apart. And this is the Dafni grapes. Okay, you can see how much looser they are than the Plyto. The Plyto is very compact. The Dafni is much looser, and you can also see how much bigger the berries are as well. The berries themselves, as the whole cluster, of course, are bigger than Plyto. I will turn now and show another group as well. So this was a short interruption. Let's go back to the PDF. I hope did this work? I hope it did.
I think it's cut. Yeah, it's back now.
Good. So the next wine is the most common and most widespread white grape of the island of Crete. This time, I neglected to say that all of the wines are vegan, and the faces that you see. So before you saw the faces of the people that are in the company, because, and in the top you see our viticulturist Nico, and then you see Kostas, another Nico, and Marcos, who are his big help for the vineyard tasks. And this is the owner of the Villana Pyrovolikes vineyard, Vasily, and you can see his vineyard on the top right, and the grape on the top, the bottom right. So Villana is the most widespread grape of the island of Crete. I will let Myriam discuss again the grape and the wine, but I just want to say this: Pyrovolikes is a funny name. In Greek, pyrovolo is a machine gun. So it's a very interesting name for this location. This location, as you see, is a very steep slope. So if you had to defend yourself somewhere and you wanted to hide and you get a machine gun, that is definitely the place where you would put it, because there is no way anybody is getting away from there. Okay, Myriam, over to you for the
another version about the name Pyrovolikes. We have two versions. We can say.
Please.
I don't know if you know the second version.
Why don't you tell us?
Well, it's because of the stone. It's a very rocky soil, and the type of stone.
I'll show in the next slide. You are cheating.
But I didn't know the next slide, but the stony soil, it is called in pyrovolos. It's a kind of schist, if it's right.
I'll show you the picture so you can see. On the right, you can see two in the circle. Okay, it's not a very good resolution, but you can kind of see it.
No, it's nice. It's nice. We can say that that rock, the roots can go easily deep and find water, but as well, it's rocky. It's a lot of rocky soil. That makes the difference in that Villana, because, but you said it's a common and widely known, and we have a lot of Villana in the island, that's truth. But we don't have Villana that Pyrovolikes. So the name Pyrovolos, it's the name of the rock, they said, some people there, and that the other version of the name, but of the name of the vineyard. But I could say that this is not a typical Villana. You find some typical characteristics of Villana, that it's some citrus fruit. It's okay, a delicate aroma, but you can find a power that is the power of the rocks. what I mean about telling that, you can smell some geosmin. It's the way the rain smells when we are out walking in the countryside. Have you smelled that the earth, kind of earth and mold as well? This is not a typical aroma from Villana, and you can smell some water celery. I think that those aromas comes from the soil, directly from the soil. If we taste it, we will find that crispy acidity. It's a very high acidity that will give a lot of life to the wine, more than 8 to 10 years to drink it. And it has a slightly chalkiness in the finish. Maybe you would say a little mineral. This is not a typical Villana. This is a Villana that we've chosen to make it because it was unique.
Great, and we have a question from Guy Palmer Brown of the Nomad Hotel. He's asked, were the single vineyard wines or areas planted with clones or Marseille selection? And if clones, where did you source them from? And what were the most critical considerations for selecting your rootstocks?
The vineyard was planted more than 30 years ago. I think it's almost 35 years old. I can reassure you that maybe what they did is at maximum, and I think they did do that in the past, look if they are going to find, because this is a grafted planting. So they have selected the rootstock, and then if you want, just selected themselves the cuts that they would graft on it. Back then there was no discussion about clonal selection, and it will take probably a significant amount of years before we are there with the grape varieties we are discussing today. We have made some progress with the grape varieties that we champion, but it will, especially with Villana, as far as I know so far, we still need a lot of work to be done. So the answer is no, there was no clonal selection whatsoever done in the past.
Okay.
And you've got another question from Ali Chapman here that says, the vines look like small trees. Is there a reason that Villana isn't trellised?
Yes, I don't know how tall the gentleman is that is asking the question. It is a gentleman, right? Or a lady?
Yes, it is.
But
I think, yes.
I wouldn't suggest that you go stand where the person that is making the picture was standing, because it's really very windy. So that is the reason why they used bush vines, and you will see that in many areas. Of course, there is, if you want, initial cost considerations for setting up the vineyard, but in this case, it was a choice made because of the wind.
And there's a question that it's not actually Stefan. It's Law who's been asking the questions about Stefan that I thought Stefan was asking. And Law is asking just how many producers would make Villana, just how many on the island, maybe of Crete, but similarly there was a similar question on Dafni as well.
How many farmers or how many winemakers? Because winemakers, I think there is maybe, there's not that many. Surprisingly, there is not that many anymore. I think there is maybe, I would say 5. Is that a good number, Myriam? What do you think?
But Villana, 100%, they make less.
Okay.
No, maybe 5. No, because there is Vasily.
5 to 10.
Yeah, it's not that many. Of course, there is. I have to say this. We have about so there is about 60 wineries on the island. That means 5 is not an insignificant number, but of course, it's not a large number for a very common grape variety.
Okay, and we have another question from James Richards. He's asking, is the photo, is that the sea or a lake in the background? And he assumes it's a lake, and will this influence... Sorry?
No, so that is, I don't know what you call it. I think you call it a reservoir.
Okay.
So, and actually there is I don't want to waste your time. That's my problem. So that reservoir, there is a big fight between the two villages because the one village that is supposedly the owner of the reservoir is not giving the other village water.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, I kind of joke about it, but it's not a joke at all when you are there and you have no water and you need it, because of course there is not only just vineyards.
Sure. Okay. Thanks for clearing that up.
Wow, gosh. Why can I, sorry, you said about wasting...
Sorry,
why won't they share it? Why won't they share the water?
Let's not get into that.
Sorry.
there is not enough.
Gosh.
Right.
And they are this vineyard is not looking to the north, so the north is on our left. We are looking to the east now. The picture that you see, so this picture, this is really looking towards the east.
Okay. And do you think it creates a sort of mesoclimate for the vineyard, or does it have any effect?
Sorry, go again. What
do you
climate?
think the reservoir has any effect on the vineyards surrounding it or not, or is it too small?
No, it's far away. You see it's close, but it's far away, really. And I think that anything in the path of the winds that go through this specific vineyard is just going away.
Okay.
And just to add a couple further questions just on there, do you so George is asking whether you use any kind of filtration or clarification for any of your wines? And
we do flotation and clarification. We don't do in that single area wines, you can say. We have flotation in Dafni. In Plyto, we don't have flotation. To be specific, in the wines that we are tasting. In Villana Pyrovolikes, we do cold stabilization only. It is because it's very high, the acidity, and we want it to be more moderate. In Leatico Agelis, we are going to taste later on. We don't do anything, no cold treatments, no fining, no temperature control. Even we do it with the indigenous yeast.
Yeah.
It depends on the vineyard. Okay. Generally, we do the less we can, or what it is needed.
Amazing. Great. So I guess we're moving on to red next then.
Oh, let's go.
One red. Interestingly enough, we've chosen to show you today Eliatico. Now, this is funny because we are in the very center of the PDO area of Peza, which is the center for 2 other red grape varieties. And still we chose to show you today Eliatico. Eliatico is grown in, again, almost all of Crete. By now, it will, but in the past it used to be mainly in the, let's say, western part of Heraklion, so our area, if you want, and the east part of Crete, and then maybe up in the mountains in Heraklion in the west. This grape is made in the far east part of Crete, the PDO area of Sitia. We don't use it, and we can't use the name of PDO Sitia because we transport the grapes to our winery, and according to the Greek law, we are not allowed to call it a PDO. Anyway, we don't really mind. So this wine is the only one that you are going to taste today that comes from a pre-phylloxera vineyard. The Greek authorities or the Greek bureaucracy, although we invented bureaucracy, we only started keeping records in the 1930s. And that is when the first written record of the Angelis vineyard shows up in the modern era, at least. So we know for sure it is a pre-phylloxera vineyard. Liatico is a grape variety that is not, and I don't want to get into Myriam's area, but it's not a super colorful variety, and it ripens very early. Depending on the area, it might even ripen in July, and that is where its name originates from, because in Greek we say to describe or to say the name July, we say Iulios. So Iulios, Iuliatico, Liatico for the grape variety, because it ripens so quickly. It is used in both dry and sweet wines. We prefer to make a dry wine, of course. And I will let Myriam discuss about how it is made. I will just show you later some interesting facts about the vineyard itself.
Liatico is my favorite variety of the reds. I would say it's very easy to make a lot of wines with Liatico. As Bart said, you can make a sweet wine, you can make a dry wine, but you can also make a rosé wine. You can make almost everything. So if you are a winemaker, you choose. We choose from this vineyard that is located in Sitia, from Liatico Angelis, to make a red wine that can be drinked for many years. I expect for this 2019 vintage to be more fascinating in 2024, for example, in 5 or 6 years. How we make it? The very important thing is berry sensory assessment that we make in the winery. So we taste the whole berry. We taste separately the stalk, the skin, the seeds, to find the proper maturity. If we find that maturity, we cut the specific grape. If we don't, we leave it in the vineyard and cut it later. This is very important if you are making red wine, because we want soft tannins, we want intensity of the aromas, we want a balance between acidity and the sugar concentration. This sometimes is very difficult. In this vineyard, that is not, it's spear pruned and head trained and it's an old vine, we have a very low yield. That leads to a very concentrated fruit on the grape. So we are having all the macerated, even whole. Yes, I remember we have it all whole bunch macerated. This year we have it 1/4 of the total blend macerated with the stalks. So we have a carbonic maceration inside the berry that gives a different aromatic profile. Fermentation is done by indigenous yeast. We do not have any temperature control, no fining, and no cold treatments. Also, if you can understand, it's a very open wine. If you taste it, a very open wine with very concentrated and mature fruit. That's due to the very low SO2 concentration. I don't know if you can see that maybe it reminds us some kind of oak brandy oak barrels, some licorice root, and in the mouth, the tannins are very soft, but they're in a large amount about Iliadico, for Iliadico variety.
All right. And we have a question from Rob from Albertine's Wine Bar. He asked about wind protection, and does the Kulara basket shape they use in Santorini exist in Crete?
No, it doesn't. It exists in another form, and I can speak of experience in this case. I'll show you how the vineyard looks like, or a part of the vineyard at least. So you can see in the picture, oh, I have Myriam in front of there, good. So I moved you, Myriam, sorry. So
Great photo.
Never mind.
So this is a picture I shot this year. I went with Nico there, and this is a picture at sunrise. So Nico is our viticulturist, the gentleman that you see that is trying to see if there is any, oh goodness, I don't know is it grape moth, the butterfly?
Say that again.
Is the name of the butterfly that is attacking? Is it grape moth, Myriam? Evdemida? Do you know?
I'm not sure. Well, it's an insect.
Anyway, she's trying to show me if there is any
Eggs.
Eggs.
Yeah, I think it's a butterfly. Yeah.
So what I want to show you here is how short or tall, if you want, the vines are, and how they are planted. And if you look carefully at the small round picture of Nico, who is trying to sample the grape, you will see behind him the wind generators. So it's a very windy area. And this size, which is approximately at maximum 1 meter 50, 1.5 meters, is probably the maximum you can go without the wind breaking everything.
Okay.
And if you look very carefully, you can also even see some of the poles I recently installed there, so that I can find my way through it, because I acquired from the gentleman that you see in the right picture, the older gentleman that used to be the owner, and I bought it myself last year. So you can blame me from 2020 on, but not for 2015. But you can see how, and that is another interesting thing. There is no system in the planting. There is no rows. There is no rows. I just can't find. I can't make any sense of it. So you can't. Normally in a vineyard you have rows. Even if it's not trellised, you can still see that you are on row 1, 2, 3, 4. Here you can't. It's just a mix. Wherever there was place, planted something. And why? Because land is so limited and so valuable. So he would plant anywhere there was a space, he would plant. So,
and I think we've just looking at the questions, there's a lot of amazing questions still here. Just to let everyone know that if we miss any of the questions afterwards, we will make sure to email the answers to you as well, just in case your questions haven't been answered. But there's just a few more questions on here, such as if you're going to compare this grape to another grape, which would it be? And that's from George at Zuma. That one.
Which would George compare it to?
That's a good question, George. You answer the question.
Some people are saying, I
know who is asking now. Yep. I think.
Yeah, people are saying Barbera.
And
Alitico. Yep.
Aglianico, maybe.
Nebbiolo.
Oh, Aiorgitico, maybe he said.
And then Pelaverge from Piedmont. I'm so blind, I'm trying to read it. And then Natalia actually also at Claret has a question on the total SO2 levels that are used in your wines, and also what are the biggest challenges in the vineyard and the winery for you?
The SO2 level we use is under below the limited one for sure, and it's below 80 ppm, if you are aware. The limit is for white wines 160 ppm. So we use about 80 ppm, half.
Okay.
It's a very in general, yes, but it's a very special the use of SO2. If you use a lot, you close the wine. If you use a little, the wine is very open and very oxidative. So you can find, it's very difficult to find the right dose. That depends on the vineyard, on the, if you have a good health of the grapes that we usually have. And what you want, if you want the grape, the wine to be consumed earlier, you don't put a lot of SO2 like other countries do. We use the less we can, because if you, it's like a child wine. If you give it a lot, it will be closed and it will be not expressed while he is grown. So we keep it moderate and in the lower concentration.
Okay.
We want the expression of the grape variety.
And
concerning the vineyards and the challenges that you mentioned, I think they depend on the area. So if you discuss the area where our winery is, there is a lot more challenges than this the vineyard that we're looking at now, which is a remote area. It is planted with a lot of vineyards, but it's remote. It's closed in its own small ecosystem, if you want. So it really depends on the area. So in that healthy area, if you want, the main concerns are you have to cut the grass too much, the weeds, because there is when you do it like we do it now there, where we really don't plow at all, and then we just take away the weeds, we cut them. That is your main concern, so that you have also better aeration and lower humidity, if you want, in the end. In our area, it is because it has been misused, if you want, in the past for many years. It is more prone to diseases. So you really need to fight harder, and it takes a lot of effort to not intervene with non-organic ways, if you want, non-biological ways. And
I think we've got time for maybe one more question, but just to mention that George has really started a debate here. So we've got Alietico from Law, we've got from Victoria, that she's saying that it's a delicate, cooler climate Pinot in style. Stephen Nesbitt's getting tomato fruit notes. Robert Albertine, sorry, says Aglianico for him. Rebecca Uncorked says Dolcetto d'Alba. We've got Sangiovese, lots of, yeah, amazing notes.
Lots of Italian grape varieties, really.
And there was one,
you
just finding the other question.
And such great aromatics. And which food would you match it with in Greece? That's Andrea Fassan from La Petite Maison.
Myriam?
Lyrarakis, which
yes, the Lyrarakis.
Right. Well, I don't eat meat, but I would have it with grilled meat, with some sweet sauce.
You're making us hungry now.
It's
Yeah.
probably,
We
it's
have some
probably-
concentrated juice. We put here in Greece, we have some concentrated with grape juice. We boil it, and I would put in a lamp a little of that with rosemary, and I would have Latico.
Okay.
So,
making us hungry.
Eat meat.
Yeah, are we all coming around to yours tonight, Myriam? But we're saving all the questions now, and we'll make sure to send them across to you so that you can answer everyone's questions. But thank you so much for your time this evening. It's been such a treat.
Yeah.
I feel like we've almost gone to Crete. Not quite, but
yeah, and it's been really interesting tasting such unusual grape varieties, which I'm sure many of us aren't that familiar with. We have Susie from our Wiltshire agent saying thank you, Myriam and Bart, for such a fantastic tasting. And
Thank you for joining
thanks
us.
everyone for joining.
It was
Thank
really
you.
nice. It was our first time. Myriam?
Okay.
It was nice, yes, different.
and Bart, we hope you don't get stopped with the police on the way home.
I hope not, because I will have to surrender this maybe to get my...
Yeah,
to
bribe
escape.
them with
I don't want
bottles.
it. I'll keep it for myself, I think.
No, I think that's a better idea.
I'll take a second bottle to give them.
Perfect. Well, have a great evening, everyone.
Thank
for
you.
joining us, and thank you for your
you.
time as well.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.